Good day, everyone! I am Rosemary Tion Pelias,
I am Flora Mail Razalo.
and we are here to tackle about
Inclusive Growth, Women in Development.
Inclusive growth, women in development. Inclusive growth brings about changes in the economy, thereby promoting economic growth. Women and girls are left far behind the inclusiveness, and this should not be so. We have to keep developing new strategies to help women integrate into the society. Women need to engage in politics more in order to help in decision making. Education is a key in achieving this. The more women are educated, the more jobs are created, and this helps close the gap between the rich and the poor. Next is mentoring in rural areas, setting up workshops, skills learning and trades, generally creating awareness in women issues would go a long way in inclusiveness and generate growth in the society. Inclusive growth focuses on inequality by engaging both men and women to bring the much desired equality. It targets all sectors in the labor force, bringing equal and unbiased opportunities and access to the economic resources.
Facts and figures economic empowerment. Benefits of economic empowerment. The women's economic empowerment is central to realizing women's rights and gender equality. Women's economic empowerment includes women's ability to participate equally in existing markets, their access to and control over productive resources, access to decent work, control over their own time, lives and bodies, and increased voice, agency, and meaningful participation in economic decision making at all levels from the household to international institutions, empowering women in the economy and closing gender gaps in the world of work are key to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 5 to achieve gender equality and Goal 8 to promote full and productive employment and decent work for all. Also, Goal 1 on ending poverty, Goal 2 on food security, Goal 3 on ensuring health, and Goal 10 on reducing inequalities. When more women work, economies grow. Women's economic empowerment boosts productivity, increases economic diversification, and income equality in addition to other positive development outcomes. For example, increasing the female employment rates in OECD countries to match that of Sweden could boost GDP by over USD 6 trillion, recognizing, however, that growth does not automatically lead to a reduction in gender-based inequality. Conversely, it is estimated that gender gaps cost the economy some 15% of GDP. Increasing women's and girls' educational attainment contributes to women's economic empowerment and more inclusive economic growth. Education, upskilling, and reskilling over the life course, especially to keep pace with rapid technological and digital transformations affecting jobs, are critical for women's and girls' health and well-being, as well as their income generation, opportunities, and participation in the formal labor market. Increased educational attainment accounts for about 50% of the economic growth in OECD countries over the 50 years, but for the majority of women, significant gains in education have not translated into better labor market outcomes. Go.
The world of work. Gender differences in laws affect both developing and developed economies and women in all regions. Globally, over 2.7 billion women are legally restricted from having the same choices of jobs as men. Of 189 economies assessed in 2018, 104 economies still have laws preventing women from working in specific jobs. 59 economies have no laws in sexual harassment in the workplace. And in 18 economies, husbands can legally prevent their wives from working. So women remain less likely to participate in the labor market than men around the world. Labor force participation rate for women aged 25 to 54 is 63% compared to 94% for men. When including younger, so bracket age is 15 years and up, and older women age 55 and up, in 2018's women's global labor force participation rate is even lower at 48.5%, 26.5 percentage points below that of men. So women are more likely to be unemployed than men. In 2017, global unemployment rates for men and women stood at 5.5% and 6.2% respectively. This is projected to remain relatively unchanged going in 2018 and through 2021. Women are overrepresented in informal and vulnerable employment. Women are more than twice as likely than men to be contributing family workers. From the latest available data, the share of women in informal employment in developing countries was 4.6 percentage points higher than that of men, when including agricultural workers, and 7.8 percentage points higher when excluding them. Globally, women are paid less than men. The gender wage gap is estimated to be 23%. This means that women earn 77% of what men earn. Though these figures understate the real extent of gender pay gaps, particularly in developing countries where informal self-employment is prevalent. Women also face the motherhood wage penalty, which increases as the number of children a woman has increases. So women bear disproportionate responsibility for unpaid care and domestic work. Women tend to spend around 2.5 times more time on unpaid care and domestic work than men. The amount of time devoted to unpaid care work is negatively correlated with female labor force participation. Unpaid care work is essential to the functioning of the economy but often goes uncounted and unrecognized. It is estimated that if women's unpaid work were assigned a monetary value, it would constitute between 10% and 39% of gross domestic product, or the GDP. So women are still less likely to have access to social protection. This means that gender inequalities in employment and job quality result in gender gaps in access to social protection acquired through employment, such as pensions, unemployment benefits, or maternity protection. Globally, an estimated nearly 40% of women in wage employment do not have access to social protection. Women are less likely than men to have access to financial institutions or have a bank account. While 65% of men report having an account at a formal financial institution, only 58% of women do worldwide. Violence and harassment in the world of work affects women regardless of age, location, income, or social status. The economic cost, a reflection of the human and social cost. to the global economy is discriminatory social institutions, and violence against women is estimated to be approximately USD 12 trillion annually.
Sustainable development. Almost a third of women's employment globally is in agriculture, including forestry and fishing. But this may exclude self-employed and unpaid family workers. Yet, differences across countries and regions are striking. The share of women workers in agriculture is only 9.5% in upper middle income countries and 2.6% in high income countries, while agriculture remains the most important employment sector for women in low income and lower middle income countries. Women farmers have significantly less access to, control over, and ownership of land and other productive assets compared to their male counterparts. Land is perhaps the most important economic asset. Women account for only 12.8% of agricultural landholders in the world. Women and girls are more likely to carry the burden of energy poverty and experience the adverse effects of lack of safe, reliable, affordable, and clean energy. Indoor air pollution from using combustible fuels for household energy caused 4.3 million deaths in 2012, with women and girls accounting for 6 out of every 10 deaths. Environmental degradation and climate change have disproportionate impacts on women and children. Women often bear the brunt of coping with climate related shocks and stresses or the health effects of indoor and urban pollution, which add to their care burden as land, forest, and water resources are increasingly compromised, privatized, or grabbed for commercial investment. Local communities and indigenous peoples, particularly women whose livelihoods depend on them, are marginalized and displaced. Globally, women are 14 times more likely than men to die during a disaster.
Women migrant workers. Women constitute approximately half of the 258 million migrants who live and work outside their countries of birth. Migrant women and girls outnumber men and boys in all regions except Africa and Asia. In some countries of Asia, men migrants outnumber women by about 3 to 1. Despite gender inequalities in the labor market and gender wage gaps globally, women migrant workers were responsible for sending half of the estimated 601 billion US dollar in remittance worldwide in 2016. So research has shown that women migrant workers are often more likely than men to remit on a regular basis owing to women's stronger links to the family members and self-insurance motives, underlining the link between a woman's gendered caregiving role in the household and her increasing propensity to remit. So, although many migrant women are highly skilled and well educated, they face challenges in accessing foreign labor markets. Employment restriction for migrant coupled with the de-skilling prevalent in gendered labor markets and pervasive stereotypes associated with migrant women in countries of destination can negatively impact their jobs prospects. Indeed, many migrant women participate in low-skilled and precarious jobs characterized by low wages, poor working conditions, limited labor and social protections, and exposure to physical and sexual violence. So women migrant workers are often concentrated in informal, low-paid, and unregulated work. The main sectors in which women migrant workers are employed are services and retail, the 18.8%, Elementary occupation is 17.3%. Craft and related trades 15.2%. Professionals 13.9% and clerks 12.3%. Of the estimated 11.5 million international migrants domestic workers in 2013, so approximately 73.4% were women.